hear me?
Good evening and welcome to The Breakdown, brought to you by the Lincoln Project. I am Tara Setmayer. This is the Rick Wilson, and happy Tuesday. Tonight, we are going to talk a little bit about voter suppression because it's happening. And it's happening all over the country under a lot of our noses. And we here at the Lincoln Project think it's really, really important to make sure folks are paying attention and know what's going on, because chances are you live in one of the 43 states that are now engaged in passing some type of voter suppression law, introduced a bill, passed one already. There's a lot going on in preparation for 2022. So tonight's show, we're going to talk a little bit about that in a little bit. But first, we are going to bring in our guest, Fred Wellman, in a little bit. Fred is our new executive director here at the Lincoln Project. You guys may have remembered him. You may look familiar. He was with us earlier, and he ran our Veterans Outreach Coalition efforts earlier in the election. And he's joined the Lincoln Project as our new executive director. And he's got lots of things to say about what Lincoln Project is doing, what the future holds for us. And he's just an all-around fun, smart guy. So stay tuned for Fred Wellman. He'll be joining us in a little bit. And as always, we want to hear from you. So send us your tweets at hashtag Ask the Breakdown. There it is, hashtag Ask the Breakdown. And of course, we're keeping it old school. You can call us up and leave a voicemail. Yes, we actually do have a tape on an answering machine. I'm just kidding. But we do get your voicemails. That would be, I don't even think we could find one, an old answering machine. For anyone who's under 30, these actually existed. There was like a tape and an answering machine, and you like pressed play and rewound it, and so things like. Anyway, if you leave us a voicemail, we may pull it and play it on later in the show. Rick, when I was a kid, I don't know if you did this. I'm a little younger than you, but your kids probably did this. When you had an answering machine, you'd leave like a funky message and you'd put like music to the back. And it was a thing to have a cool voicemail message on your voice.
Yeah,
it wasn't
it was
voicemail, answering machine
Absolutely.
message. That's what it was. I used to have dance music and everything else.
I'm old enough to remember when we got our first one back in the 70s or something. It had 2 cassette tapes in it. One played the message, one recorded people's calls. And you guys don't. It's probably on the YouTube somewhere, but they made this like clack, and they'd reel back and forth in the tapes. It really was of a time. But now we don't hunt the mammoth anymore with spears and wear bear skins. But we're still going to take your old school voicemail messages, folks.
Yes, indeed. It's fun. Nostalgia is fun. So please leave us voicemail messages so we can rewind the tape. Rick, spring is in the air, and there's actually some good news. Let's take a look.
There are new signs that America is moving in the right direction against the coronavirus. More than 50 million Americans have already received at least one dose of the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines.
There will be enough vaccines, the president said last week, for all adults by May.
America's COVID fight has a new weapon. A third vaccine made by Johnson & Johnson is set to ship out.
Because this is a single-dose vaccine, it gives vaccination sites the ability to put more shots in the arms of Americans.
It means we don't leave people behind.
I hope it means that I never will have to have COVID again.
Come get your shot, save a life, save your own life, and save somebody else.
The CDC says fully vaccinated people can now gather indoors with one another.
Saturday, after an all-night session, Senate Democrats passed the $1.9 trillion COVID relief package. We're not at the 100-day marker yet. This is an incredible victory.
People across the country are talking about how they need relief and how excited they are.
I'm pinching myself, wondering if this is some kind of a dream, because we really are actually responding more or less adequately to the crisis at hand.
As individuals, when that vaccine is available to you, roll up your sleeve and get it so that we can really be sure that we are winning this race.
Vaccine, 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 vaccine. I'm begging of you, please don't hesitate. Because once you're dead, then that's a bit too late.
You gotta love Dolly Parton. I mean, everybody's
Dolly
involved.
of Nashville. Saint Dolly of Nashville. God bless her. She is an American damn treasure.
She sure is. Have you ever been to Dollywood? Have you ever been there?
Absolutely.
I have never.
God bless her.
I've never been there.
My favorite thing in Nashville is in the 12 South area. Dolly Parton has this little studio she records in there. And it's this weird thing. It's in the middle of Nashville, and it looks like a little Mexican hacienda right in the middle of 12 South in Nashville. And you walk by there and you're like, what the hell is that? And it's got like a bell tower and adobe walls. You're like, all right, well, I'll take it. But that's Dolly Parton's recording studio there.
How about that? She's I never realized how much she gives back to the community, and like the whole sending books to children and all of that. Like, I didn't really, because I didn't grow up listening to Dolly Parton. I'm from Jersey. She's not exactly, popular in my household in Jersey.
I get you.
I'm a rocker chick in theater, and Bon Jovi and Bruce Springsteen. But so over the years, I really have grown to appreciate Dolly Parton outside of just her musical talent. She really is a national treasure.
For sure.
And I actually watched her Christmas special this year. It was the first time I actually watched a full Dolly Parton something since probably like 9 to 5 movie. And,
Right.
and she was delightful. I was like, good for you, because she's not young.
Yeah, God bless her.
So, I mean, she had on heels like
God
this.
bless her.
I'm like, okay.
Absolutely.
I know. So good news on the vaccine front. And I have an announcement.
For sure.
I got my first dose of the Moderna vaccine today. Finally,
God bless.
after months
good
of
deal.
trying to get an appointment here in the state of Virginia, I was able to get my first dose of the vaccine today. And coincidentally,
Sarah, that makes
my
me
mother,
feel so. I know you. Yeah, that is great news. I'm super happy to hear that.
Thank you. I have asthma, so it's this is a pulmonary disease, and so I was at risk, and it was a challenge for a couple months there. My husband was fortunate enough to get vaccinated back in January because of his profession, and my mom coincidentally was also vaccinated today. She is over 65 and asthmatic and has is immunocompromised. When we had Dr. Gupta on the show, folks probably remember I was asking questions on her behalf about whether it was safe or not for her to take the vaccine on steroids. It was a whole thing. And shout out to Dr. Vin Gupta, who is another national treasure, for taking the time to answer questions. He did an amazing how-to video with masks for us when he was on the show. And he's been incredibly accessible and helpful, not only to me, but to so many Americans, particularly on social media during this whole COVID debacle. So thank you, Dr. Gupta, for your service. And thank you, President Biden, for helping the states move along and get us the vaccine quantities that we need. It's been, a little bit of a challenge and the rollout has been tough. But could you imagine where we would be if Donald Trump were still president? We would not be in the position we are today with more and more people getting this vaccine. So thank you, President Biden. Thank God that Donald Trump is no longer president of the United States. And thank you, Jesus, for me getting the vaccine and my mom today. We are a vaccinated household, and I really, really hope and pray that others who are watching and Lincoln Project supporters, that you guys are able to get your vaccine too. It might take a little effort, but it's coming. The Calvary is arriving. So amen to that.
It sure is. And what a blessing we have that a lot of people are criticizing Joe Biden by saying, oh, he's in the background. He's not out in front of the cameras every day. He's not making a big deal every day. But what he's doing, the one thing he needed to do and the country needed him to do, which is to deploy a rolling, smart, sensible strategy on getting the vaccine out there, of pushing these companies and the government at the same time to do all the things they have to do, and the states to do all the things they have to do to get shots in arms. That's what counts. And, folks, there are a lot of problems in this country. There are a million problems in this country. And I hope that in the very near future, these numbers will tip over to a point where the rate of infection will become noise, not signal. And it looks like the Biden administration is doing the most fundamental thing right now, which is to work the problem, to get down in the dirt, get their elbows, out there, get their hands dirty, work the problem of vaccine distribution. It's having an effect. And, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine coming on stream is going to have a huge effect, being a one-shot vaccine. In fact, there's a possibility, knock on wood, that I'll get the J&J vaccine in the next, few days, I hope. I would love that. I'm 58 years old, so I'm about in the window. But I got to tell you, there are many Americans, millions of Americans, who suddenly have a restored sense of hope.
Yes.
Because there is a chance now that we're not going to go to 600,000 or 750,000 or 1 million dead Americans. And I promise you, if Donald Trump was still in office, we would still have that fuckwit Scott Atlas and these other idiots like Peter Navarro around him who were trying to go for the straight herd immunity strategy, which would have cost 2 million or more American lives.
Could you imagine?
The nuts and bolts of running a real administration like Joe Biden's doing right now, it's not dramatic. It's not big. It's not big Twitter fights. It's not a huge amount of drama and hair tearing and ripping your shirt open. It's just getting the shit done. And right now they're doing that. It's an enormous sense, in my mind at least, of relief that we have a competent, sane, steady president right now.
Amen. It's called governing. It's something that was unfamiliar to a lot of folks for the 4 years under Donald Trump. But that's actually what the president of the United States is supposed to do. So,
wow.
I know, what a novel concept. A president actually doing president-y things. Not tweeting.
Presidenting, if you will.
Yes, he's presidenting, like adulting. One of the other things that he's doing, that's right, I think the other presidenting thing he's doing, he's preparing to sign the COVID relief package. This is something that has been in the works for months. I mean, the fact that Republicans and Democrats were not able to get a bipartisan package together before the end of the year is extraordinary. But of course, no one was interested in doing that because people were too busy fighting over fake election fraud. Meanwhile, Americans were suffering tremendously for months and months. Finally, the Democrats trying to work with Republicans on Biden's $1.9 trillion COVID package. It's what he promised. It was an election promise. And not one Republican signed on to this bill. Despite the fact that the COVID relief bill was incredibly popular, it had, I think it was something like 60-something% to 70% popularity. Republicans went back to the old arguments of, well, how are we going to pay for it? And, this is a socialist behemoth that has more things in it than COVID relief. Look, there are issues about our debt and how we pay for things. That's legit. However, they weren't bitching and complaining about fiscal responsibility when Donald Trump passed a $2.2 trillion COVID relief package last year, on top of other a couple $100 billion and things. They weren't worrying about it then when it was Republicans in control. So cut the shit. People are suffering. We need to do this to stimulate the economy and help people. I cringe a little bit when I see the numbers as a fiscal conservative.
Sure.
But there are times when if there's ever a time when the government needs to step in a large way to help people, it's now. People are suffering from a freaking global pandemic. So that is going to get signed, and the Biden administration is going to take a victory lap on that, and they should. And I think Republicans are going to, if the Democrats are smart, Republicans will have a problem politically with this, because a lot of people in their districts, in those red districts, desperately need these, the goodies that are in this bill. Okay. They need that to help them.
Tara.
So Democrats better message this right.
Yeah, I look at this bill, and sure, are there things in there that as a fiscal conservative I go, sure.
Right.
Absolutely. But I also am a realist. I know how Washington works. But I've written a lot about this. When the Trump tax bill was being negotiated and being written, I knew one of the lobbyists who was in Mitch McConnell's office writing the final version of the bill. And I texted this person at the time. I said, is there any, and I got to be honest, I was looking for something to defend at the time. I was looking for a way to say, maybe there's something good in this tax cut. And the person responded to me, when I said, is there any middle class uplift in this? Is there anything beyond the usual stuff? And he's like, what the fuck do I care? I work for hedge funds. I work for high net worth individuals. That's all I care about. And that was $2 trillion that is going to cost us an enormous amount of money over time. This is $2 trillion widely distributed. And I'll take, as a fiscal conservative, a widely distributed set of stimuli rather than a narrowly focused set of stimuli that I know are not being used to create jobs or to relieve the economic hardship of COVID.
That's right.
But rather to in that zone of, oh, well, should we buy a 63 or a 78-foot boat? It's that sort of thing. So
yeah, absolutely. And, that's a good point too, Rick, because I know that there are people who support the Lincoln Project who watch us and who are, homeless conservatives like us that aren't exactly thrilled with everything the Biden administration is doing policy-wise, but they recognize that, we'll take this. We can manage this versus what the alternative was, right? We're not, some of these policy differences we can work that out. And the overall good of what things like this will accomplish, I think we can live with that. If these are the arguments that we have over the next couple of years, I'm fine with that. Versus, will our democracy survive another couple of years with an authoritarian wannabe in the White House? That we don't have to worry about right now, but there are others that are, grooming themselves to try to take it on in 2024. And, Ronald Reagan said that freedom is only a generation away from extinction. We have to fight for it. It's not, it doesn't just get handed down from generations. You have to fight for it. And that's what we do here every single day at the Lincoln Project. So
that's right.
Speaking of fighting for it, Nancy Pelosi made comments about the fact that Republicans weren't engaged. And unlike when Trump was president, Joe Biden is not worrying about his freaking signature being on the checks that are going out to people. It's not about him. It's about the American people. What a relief that is.
That's right.
Pelosi said about Republicans, she said, I feel sad for them. She called them oblivious to the support the bill has among their own Republicans across the country. And she's right. And I think going into 2022 and into the midterms, we've got a lot of Senate seats that are up for re-election. And this is going to be an issue and something that Republicans will be that Democrats can stand tall on. And Joe Biden made the point, I think strategically, that unlike Obama in 2009, where they didn't really take the victory lap on the stimulus back then, after the Great Recession, Biden is going to do that now. He started already to do it. He went out to a small business, a hardware store in Washington, D.C. today that will benefit directly from this bill. The hardware store has been around since like the 1860s or something, and a small business. And he was there talking to that business owner. He explained what this means to his employees. And this is what Biden is good at, retail politics. And that's how you ingratiate yourself to the American people on a grassroots level. So he's not going to make the mistake that Obama made in 2009 and not taking credit for helping to restart the economy. They're going to take the credit for this, and they should.
For sure. Absolutely.
So let's talk the Senate map. Oh, go ahead. Then we'll talk Senate.
Let's do it.
All right. So the Senate map is changing in 2022. We've got another Republican announcing his retirement. Roy Blunt of Missouri said, I'm out of here. And Roy, he's one of those traditionalist establishment Republicans, and we all necessarily don't like some of the things that they've done, but you kind of need these kinds of guys in the Senate, the ones that abide by the rules. They understand how things work. They're kind of boring. Because when you lose the institutionalists, you worry about who's going to replace them. I mean, this new crop of Republicans out there are scary, frankly. The Josh Hawleys of the world. This freaking Josh Hawley now is going to be the senior senator from Missouri. And who the hell is going to run in the Republican primary in Missouri? Eric Greitens, the disgraced governor there.
It looks like Eric Greitens might actually be the guy, Tara. I spoke to a person in Missouri who had previously run for statewide office, who told me to expect the Star Wars cantina of people competing to be the Trumpiest Trumpy Trumper, but that Eric Greitens, no matter how much he has been basically humiliated in the state, and no matter how much he's, shall we say, bound up with a bunch of very knotty issues, he is going to be, I'm making such a joke here, and you guys, some of you will get it if you read about Eric Greitens, because I just can't help myself. He is a guy with a very checkered past. And I will tell you, we have a lot of friends in the SEALs who freaking hate this guy, who think he he has besmirched the name of the organization, and is a very bad actor. And I think, but he's got a great chance of doing it. He understands the nature of the performative dickishness of Trumpism. And so he'll go after that sort of, I'm the biggest jerk in the room idea, and they'll play that game out. So, the Democrats have a great opportunity there. It's a pretty red state, but now they've got an open field to play in. And the other side, the Trump side of this thing, is going to compete to be the most crazy and the most to the Trump right. Just like in Ohio, you're going to see the lunatics come out to play. When you think about this,
it's already started.
Portman, yeah, oh, for sure. You got Portman in Ohio, retiring. Blunt in Missouri, retiring. Burr in North Carolina, retiring. Toomey in Pennsylvania, retiring. You've got a bunch of opportunities there that are opening up for Democratic candidates, and my Democratic friends are going to have to take a little medicine here. These are not the most woke states in America.
Right.
Nominate the right person, you can win. Nominate the wrong person, and it's Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell.
God
so
help
think
us.
it through in your primaries. But these are states that have enormous opportunities for the Democrats this cycle. In part, I mean, look, we saw what we could do in Pennsylvania by activating African-American voters. Lincoln Project did that, people. We went in there and we invested in African-American turnout in what they call the collar counties around Philadelphia and set records for turnout, blew it out. We did it because we believe in democracy. We believe in voter contact. We believe in using unusual and sideways strategies sometimes to get to where we got to go. But we believe there are opportunities in places like Pennsylvania, in places like North Carolina, in places like Missouri, and in places like Ohio, where those would be hard states otherwise. Now, we also have a lot of work to do in this election cycle. And again, if you don't start now, and don't get involved now, and don't start raising money and doing the right things and doing the strategic approaches now, I want you to rehearse just the following phrase: Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. Because Mitch McConnell will have hundreds of millions of dollars to invest in these races. He will have hundreds of millions of dollars to seize control of the Senate. You won't have Vice President Harris breaking the tie. You won't have a majority in the Senate. You will lose the Senate if you don't understand that the fight against McConnell begins right now.
Absolutely. The fight against McConnell, the fight against the Marjorie Taylor Greens and the Lauren Boeberts and all the other idiots.
And McCarthy and
dangerous.
And Jim Jordan and all the other morons.
That's right. I mean, we don't want to see Speaker Kevin McCarthy either, which is something that, God, as a Republican for so long, it feels so weird to even be talking about this, about maintaining Democratic majorities. I'm like, it's the world turned upside down. But you know what? That's the world we live in now because they decided that they're no longer right. They decided they're no longer a party of that's pro-democracy. They are becoming an authoritarian conspiracy theory party that's, that's going back to Jim Crow days with voter suppression and all kinds of other dirty tricks. And it's bad for America. So, hey, it's still hashtag country over party for us here at the Lincoln Project.
For sure.
Speaking of going back, so Donald Trump is still a thorn in the ass of the Republican Party. And no matter what, they can't quit him. He won't go away. He is recently, Rick, I know that you heard about this. So the Republican Party uses Donald Trump's name to fundraise, right? So the RNC and the NRCC and all of the, the fundraising arms of the party apparatus, Trump is still popular, right? So let's send us money so we can nominate and elect candidates that will still love Donald Trump, right? America first, MAGA. Well, Trump said, yeah, screw you people. You're not going to use my name to raise money. How dare you? He actually sent them a cease and desist letter to tell them to stop using his name to fundraise. This is the national party structure. He said, no, can't use my name. Instead, he wants you to send your donations directly to DonaldJTrump.com. And really? And the grift is just so obvious. And Lincoln Project, of course, has something to say about it. Take a look.
TPAC.
The party of President Trump.
Well, Donald J. Trump ain't going anywhere.
They kept saying, he's going to start a brand new party.
we have the Republican Party. It's going to unite and be stronger than ever before.
President Trump has sent a cease and desist order to the RNC, the NRCC, and the NRSC.
This is what he wrote tonight. Send your donation to Save America PAC at DonaldJTrump.com.
Do you miss me yet? Do you miss
me? Oh my gosh. The Republicans are such idiots. They continue to kiss his fat ass, and they still get.
Donald...
Yeah.
It's like, send it to the Donald J. Trump Travel and Leisure Foundation. I mean, come on, people.
Right.
I mean, and by the way, there's a critique of the LP about how we did our business this year and how effectively we waged the campaign.
Right.
Donald Trump, since Election Day, where he lost, spent over $100 million raising money from people for a hypothetical fake re-election defense effort. So do tell, who are the grifters here? They are Brad Parscale, Donald Trump, Kevin or Jason Miller, Jared Kushner, all the rest of this dog's breakfast of idiots around Donald Trump, who have got a beautiful scam going on where they have told people that he could still be president again in 2021. It is astounding to me. It's like no one in the world who looks at that threat from Donald Trump, if you're in the Republican Party, can wake up in the morning and think, wow, this is great news. Donald Trump's going to let it. Wait, there's a VIG on top of everything he does. This guy is like a damn mobster. It's like, I'm going to send, it's a nice party you got there. It'd be a shame if there was a fire or something.
Right. And, the RNC wants to have a donor retreat. You better have it at Mar-a-Lago or else.
Right.
Which is true, by the way.
Right.
The quarterly retreat that the Republican National Committee does for their donors, they're having it at Mar-a-Lago next month. And guess who's going to be the headline speaker?
What a surprise!
Donald Trump. I mean, it's just, it's so ridiculous. And they continue to do this, and they continue to get kicked in the ass. It's like Lucy and Charlie Brown on the football. Like, how many times do they have to get burned before they realize that Donald Trump doesn't give a fuck about the Republican Party and will do anything
apparently
and everything to screw it over? Right. Good grief. Ay. Well, as Biden continues to put his government together and actually install people and nominate people who are qualified for their jobs, not a bunch of grifters and C-team people like his administration consisted of. This week, there's really, really important nominations going on, and these are Senate confirmed positions over at the Department of Justice. We all know, I don't think there's been a vote yet on Merrick Garland, right? They're still waiting on that actual vote, or did they approve
Still
him?
waiting. Still waiting.
They're still waiting, right?
Still waiting.
But he made it out of committee, didn't he?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
So
they're still waiting for a full vote on Merrick Garland.
The weird chemistry of appointments right now, because it's a 50-50 split, is slow rolling everything.
I guess they thought maybe the Republicans thought they were going to get some leverage on the COVID bill or what they were doing, but it doesn't matter. The COVID bill is getting passed and signed. But there's others within the Department of Justice, other associate attorney general positions, deputy attorney general positions that require Senate confirmation. Right. And there are two outstanding women who have been nominated for high-level positions in the Justice Department. Vanita Gupta for associate attorney general, and Kristen Clark for the head of the Civil Rights Division, which is an incredibly important position, particularly since voter suppression is going to be in the forefront coming up, going into 2022. And their nominating hearings are this week. And the Lincoln Project is proud to support these nominations. We encourage our supporters to support them as well. They are qualified. They are left of center, but They are qualified for what they do. They have distinguished careers and resumes, and Republicans are putting up a fight, of course. But Lincoln Project is proud to support them, and we recently put out this ad. Take a look.
How many young girls are raised today too afraid to speak their own minds, scared of being attacked for having an opinion, fearful of being called bossy, arrogant? How many of them just stay silent? It's time to turn the corner on the all too familiar phenomenon of what happens when a woman speaks her mind. Because that's just what we are seeing today with Kristen Clark and with Vanita Gupta, two brilliant and qualified women nominated for powerful roles within the Biden administration, smeared and vilified despite their qualifications and widely accepted views. Would this be happening if these were men nominated? What are you afraid of, senators? It's time to throw those double standards overboard for Clark and for Gupta, and for all the young women out there who yearn to lead, if only given examples to follow. It's time.
The Lincoln Project is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Rick, tell us a little bit about why you made the decision to make an ad like this. Because for me, I know it's important that representation matters, especially during Women's History Month like this. I'm so glad to see that Lincoln Project put content like this out. But talk a little bit about the ad.
We're working with a bunch of allied groups right now. And this ad was important for a simple reason, Tara, is we heard in the last 4 years that the president should have an absolute right to appoint the people he wanted to appoint, even if they were unqualified weirdo skells, even if they were like people you wouldn't pick out from behind a bus station. And now Joe Biden is appointing highly qualified candidates to do critical jobs at the Justice Department, especially right now in the Civil Rights Division. Given the situation in American political life right now on the civil rights questions, both in elections and in justice reform, I think both of these candidates are vital going forward. And it's important that we understand that at the Lincoln Project, we may have started out as a bunch of Republicans, but we are now people in the pro-democracy space, advocating for the things that underpin our republic. And if we don't have a robust civil rights division of the Justice Department, why bother? If we're going to walk away from challenges to the many states right now that seek to undermine or eliminate voting rights in those states like Georgia and Iowa and Florida and elsewhere, if the Justice Department isn't fighting that question, are we really living in a democracy at that point? Are we really in a functioning republic? And I would say the argument is no. So we're pushing for these nominations, not because we agree with everything they want to do politically, because I don't.
Right.
I don't
and that's
agree with
okay.
everything they do ideologically or politically.
Right, I don't
and
either.
that's okay.
That's
this
okay.
is President Biden's selection for Associate Attorney General and head of the Civil Rights Division. These are these are candidates that the president seeks to nominate. We were told in the last 4 years that no matter how weird and screwy and shady Trump's candidates were for various jobs, that they must be nominated. They absolutely must be confirmed no matter what you think about them. Well, the shoe is now on the other foot, and we believe that it is important, especially for these two jobs, particularly because of the character of these two people as nominees and the importance of those two jobs, that these nominations move forward.
And I just want to say that, Vanita Gupta, she was supported by national police organizations. So, there's an ad, there's a smear campaign out there against her that she wants to defund police and that she's anti-police and all this nonsense. That is absolutely not true. The National Fraternal Order of Police actually supports her. And Kristen Clark, she's a Harvard graduate. She's worked on landmark civil rights cases. And she's eminently qualified. So, eminently qualified. So, don't believe the hit pieces out there about some of the more extreme things they're accusing them of. That's just part of the character assassination that, unfortunately, Republicans are trying to pull. So let's take a tweet and then we'll bring in Fred. Yes?
All right.
Sounds good. All right. First tweet. Why is it that many Trump MAGA fans are running to get the vaccine? are running to get the vaccine. Didn't they say that it was nothing? Nobody said that.
I was told this was just the flu. It was going
Right,
away.
just a
It was
flu.
almost done.
Right. A year ago, right now, right? It was like, oh, it'll be gone in a couple
about a year
days.
ago now. I mean, Tara, we look back on this, and about a year ago, the Lincoln Project was a couple months old. We weren't doing a ton yet. We were raising a little bit of money. We were trying to put our work together. In fact, I was doing LP, and I was still on my book tour. And around this time, Donald Trump was saying to people, it's a hoax. It's fake.
Right.
It's only in China. It's not going to come here. It's not going to hurt you. Masks are stupid. Well, we know now that the mistakes in the front end of the process iterated into a much broader crisis. And we will look back in history, both when the epidemiologists and the smart folks about disease science look at this, and when we look at it as a policy basis, that a year ago, Donald Trump's actions and inactions set the stage for the death of 500,000 Americans.
Unbelievable.
500,000 Americans because of Donald Trump. It is an astounding crisis that he created and that we will live with for a very long time. But, I think we're right now moving into a better place as a country. And speaking of better places, our buddy Fred Wellman is with us. And Fred has been a stalwart in taking over some of the reins of the Lincoln Project as a manager and as a leader inside the organization. And folks, we are delighted to have Fred with us again. Hey, man. I like
Fred.
the pink zip up.
I was just going to say, looking snazzy in the pink zip up.
You like that? It's spring. Spring.
It is spring, man.
Indeed it is. So, Fred, I want to give the audience a little more background on who you are, because we know you and love you and know how fabulous you are, but not everyone does. So I'm going to give you a proper introduction. So, Fred is, as Rick said, our new executive director. He joined the organization in August of last year as a senior advisor of Veterans Affairs and coordinated veteran and national security efforts during the Georgia runoff and the general election for us. He's also an Army veteran. He served 22 years in the Army. Thank you for your service. And he is an aviator. He flew helicopters, which is pretty awesome. He was also a public affairs office. He worked for some pretty cool generals over there too when he was in Iraq, where he did 4 combat tours in Iraq, Desert Storm and Iraqi Freedom. He's retired out of the Pentagon as of 2010 and embarked on a civilian career as an entrepreneur and veterans advocate early in the pandemic crisis. He also served as an administrative chief of staff of a COVID field hospital in New York City. So, his servant's heart continued into as recent as last year, helping out with COVID relief efforts. He was staffed by military special operations veterans. And we are thrilled to have Fred on our team leading the charge. Fred Wellman, hello and welcome. Fred and your pink zip up.
Good to be back. Thank you. Good to be back.
Oh my goodness. Some people may remember Fred from one of our most infamous breakdown episodes during the election. That was fun. We had, back when we used to drink on the show because the election, there was a lot going on. So we used to have fun and drink on Friday night.
Had to.
When we did Friday night show. Yes. And Fred and one of our political team members got hammered on the show. By the end of the show, they were feeling pretty good. And we had a cameo of Lincoln coming through the studios out there in our headquarters, making appearances throughout the show. It was a blast. We had a lot of fun. It was one of our most watched shows. And that was, I think, the last time we had you on, right, Fred?
I think so. Yeah, I believe so.
So talk to us, talk to our Lincoln Project supporters, and give them an overview of what's cooking. What are we doing? What are we up to in this off year.
It's been an exciting
Not
month.
really an off year.
Well, I had the opportunity. I took the job over on the 1st of February, which was, just really exciting, obviously. And we've had some challenging times. We've been real aggressive in addressing. Terry, you've been a huge part as a partner in crime for me as we move forward. You're chairing our transition advisory committee with Dr. Lara Brown from George Washington University, who's been as we're addressing the issues that we face, and we're not shrinking from them. We hired the Paul Hastings firm out of LA to investigate the allegations surrounding one of our co-founders. We'll be issuing a financial stewardship report, as some people are confused about how we spent our precious donations. I am still a fiscal conservative. I still believe that the money that we've been so generously donated to our organization should be treated as someone else's money. So I'm eager to get that report out and show folks how we put that money to hard work in the general election and in Georgia and since, frankly. And then, of course, we're also looking at how we build this organization. We've done a lot of changes in the organization. The thing about it is, you guys are all campaigners, like all of y'all, and we ran a hard fought campaign. We ran a great campaign. We had folks who were campaigners, and of course, I came in late as a non-political guy. I was while I was involved in politics, I was an advisor on Veterans Affairs and was involved. And came out to Park City in the campaign, and it's a different approach. So as we went into the new year and we transitioned to the long-term Lincoln Project, I think there was a need. I think there was an opportunity for someone like me who ran a business for 10 years to come in and apply a lot of those business metrics and business approaches to how we transition to the new phase of the Lincoln Project. So I'm really fortunate. I actually texted Reed, the board members, the night before the inauguration, said, "Hey, I heard for an executive director," and thinking, I said to my girlfriend, I said, they won't give you the job, and she's like, I bet they do. I'm like, nah, they won't give you the job. We'll go the next morning. I got the job. I'm like, oh, that's a twist. And so here we are.
Careful what you wish for.
They tell you in the Army, don't volunteer, and I keep volunteering for stuff, and New York and here, whatever. It's good. It worked out. But it's great. I mean, we've got the thing about the Lincoln Project, and the reason I hold. I've had people. We can't hide. These been tough times. These are very serious. Some of these allegations are incredibly serious.
Sure.
And some folks have asked me, what keeps you going, Fred? Why are you staying? Why are you putting the fight in? And I'm very honest. That very first day when some very serious things came out, we had to make some dramatic changes very quickly. The board empowered me to make some very, very dramatic changes. We got on a Zoom and we had 25 faces on that Zoom. Our incredible staff, from 22-year-old rapid response video editors to, press secretaries who've been with us for years to contractors who were making things like this show happen. And look at those faces. It was like, this is the Lincoln Project. That all of you are supporters, our fans. They know you guys. They know Rick and Reed and Steve and Tara and Maya and they don't know me. But what was really amazing is the incredible, none of this happens in a vacuum. And there's this remarkable staff that we are now making professional staffers with benefits and a proper payroll system they deserve, and making this a long-term professional organization that everyone can be proud of. And that's my mission. It's simple. I'm not just make sure we take care of our people, make sure we take care of our donors, make sure we take care of our supporters who have just been incredible. They've stayed with us. And they worry, and they should. But I think we owe it to the people who join us in this movement to do this right, to be transparent, to be honest. Is that what super PACs do? No, the whole nature of super PACs is not. But you know what? We're not other super PACs. So I'm really excited about what we're doing.
Fred, I was talking to a major donor today, somebody who had been a very meaningful part of our operation, is going to continue to support us, who said, I watch you guys struggle with problems that would have happened to any fast-growing organization. I watch you guys try to handle two things at one time: defeating Donald Trump, the most dangerous president in American history, while also trying to do HR and all the mechanical things. And so, the fact that we have acknowledged that we've got work to do and that we're doing that work, and the fact that we are doing that work while we're continuing to mount the most robust attack against Trumpism and against the forces that would drag this country under in 2022 or 2024. The person I was speaking to was very grateful for that, the fact that we're keeping our fighting spirit, we're keeping the energy, the enthusiasm, the edge that we brought into these fights like nobody else does. You know, a lot of our critics on the left, and a lot of our critics on the right have decided that they're going to tell people what our effectiveness was. Well, guys, we understand what we did. If you don't, it's because you're stuck in the past. We reinvented what a super PAC can and should be. We reinvented what an advocacy organization can and should be. We created a movement with millions of followers across the country. We activated millions of voters to accomplish an incredibly tough mission. And we acknowledge that while we were doing that tough mission, not everything worked the way we would like it to work. So folks like Fred and folks like Tara, who is leading the transition committee, are helping us build out a structure, build out an organization that is going to keep all the energy, all the aggression we need to have against the bad guys, and build out an organization that's bulletproof, that works right all the time. Because you know what? Reed and Steve and Stu and myself, we admit it freely. We're not managers. We're guys that go out and blow shit up. That's what we should be doing. We need people to keep us sane and stable on the back end of this thing.
You do blow shit up.
Because I like to blow shit up. I don't like to do like HR stuff. And that's an honest answer. And we're going to be working to make sure that people understand everything about this. And by the way, folks, I just want to say this with as much clarity as I can today. Many of the stories you have seen and read have been put in the press by people who are not trying to do the right thing or to protect anybody or to try to help somebody or to try to do the right thing for America. Many of them have come from the Trump organization very directly. We'll be talking more about that in the future. Many of the stories you've heard are a combination of self-interest, falsehoods, and very carefully selected history. We'll talk more about that, I think, in the future. But for right now, we're going to wait. We're going to have a report coming out about one of the major situations inside LP. We're going to talk about our stewardship, which we are very confident when people know the truth, they're going to say, wow, you did all that with this amount. You know, we outpunched the Trump organization at about 8% of their budget in many, many cases. So we feel confident we're going to have a very different view of where LP is going in the next few weeks. And we are so grateful for you folks for sticking with us and staying with us in this fight until then.
Indeed. And thankfully now they've got a tough Jersey girl and a West Point and Harvard grad to keep their asses in line.
God help us all.
Moving forward.
God clearly ain't getting those schools. Obviously, a little past me through, but we're still here.
Oh my goodness. And one of the major things that we are focusing on, and you've heard us with these themes for the last couple of weeks, is voter suppression. And as I mentioned earlier in the show, there are 43 states with over 250 bills either introduced, passed already, or carried over from other legislatures that are being considered right now that really make it more difficult for people to vote. And there's something inherently wrong with that. And there's something inherently anti-democratic about that. And most recently, the state of Georgia just passed a pretty restrictive voting suppression bill, is what we're calling it. So did Iowa, and there's others that are cooking. It's all being engineered by Republicans in these state legislatures, and we need to keep paying attention. Let's take a look. Here's a recap.
Republican states across the country are taking the big lie and turning it into legislation.
The Brennan Center for Justice says more than 40 states have introduced over 250 bills that would restrict voting access.
There is nothing that is redeemable about any of these
bills that have been introduced.
That's being called the most restrictive voter law since Jim Crow.
It would reduce early weekend voting, limit polling places, and cut back on drop boxes.
The law cuts Iowa's early voting period from 29 days down to 20 days.
Democrats fire back, calling this an effort to limit voting because President Trump lost Arizona.
They knew Donald Trump didn't win the state of Georgia, but they knew that if they created enough doubt, if they manufactured enough of a crisis, then they could introduce all of these laws in response to that quote-unquote crisis.
Most of these bills are based on falsehoods.
What's the interest of the Arizona RNC here in keeping, say, the out-of-precinct voter ballot disqualification rules on the books?
Because it puts us at a competitive disadvantage relative to Democrats.
President Biden is set to sign an executive order aimed at leveraging federal resources to expand access to voting.
The House has passed a significant voting rights bill known as the For the People Act.
The path they're going to have to take for this legislation is to try to win the support of 10 Republicans. And frankly, the support just isn't there right now.
This is exactly why we need a strong Voting Rights Act, is to ensure that if any of those policies get passed and they're discriminatory, we have a way to stop them.
Guys, this is really blatant what's going on here. Last week on the podcast, we talked about what the Supreme Court case out in Arizona, the Arizona case, and how the Republican lawyer for the state party out there basically said the quiet part out loud, that they need to put these efforts forward in order to have an advantage over Democrats. Otherwise, they don't win. It's a zero-sum game. That's crazy. What happened in Georgia, where they're trying to basically, I mean, it's going to get signed into law. It's controlled by the state government's controlled by Republicans. There was a lot of controversy over this. They're trying to get rid of no-fault absentee balloting, making it difficult as far as early voting is concerned. These are purely targeting Democratic votes, particularly Black voters, and it's outrageous. Fred, I know that you are passionate about this.
Yeah, it's laser targeting. I mean, what's fascinating about it is, and horrifying, is the way they approach these is they do little tiny laws. I don't know if you guys remember back in the days, there used to be this guy that used to go on infomercials at night, and he tried to convince you to do little tiny ads placed throughout newspapers around the country, right? And that's how they win this. They do, remember that, Rick? You remember, Rick remembers.
Yes.
And they're little tiny laws. And the way that, you remember that guy? Little tiny ads. So what? Little tiny ads. Yeah, I used to love that guy. But I'm dating myself. But anyways, we delay. The perniciousness. Yeah, well, you're young. The perniciousness of this is they do just a little bit of law. I had an argument, not an argument. I had a discussion with someone the other day. In a state up Northeast, they're trying to pass law that college kids who are just there for 8 months can't vote locally. And this was a progressive woman. She's like, well, this is a good thing because, that way, because they don't respect our laws locally and they don't know the issues and they vote against our interests. I said, that's great, except the state's going to come behind that. The Republicans are going to have a law that says, well, college kids that are away for 8 months shouldn't be able to vote at home because they're away and they don't understand. It's what they do is they do a little penny laws that maybe make sense on the face of them. But when you put the package together, they're incredibly restrictive. The ridiculousness of the Georgia laws is staggering. The one example is they're restricting voting on Sundays. Why? Because African-American churches do souls to the polls. And so they do church, and they put their elderly members on a bus and they drive them to the early voting. And it works very effectively. They're laser focused on limiting that ability. Why do you make it earlier? So that church goes long, they can't make it a poll on time. It's directly targeting Black churches. The same thing with not allowing people to be. I mean, what a ridiculous law. You're not allowed to feed people or give them water or drinks in line to vote. So they're going to restrict the number of polling places, make you wait 8 hours, and then starve you. It's just these are laser
and then
focused.
Put a restriction on restriction on mail-in voting, which is what they're doing in Georgia. 1.3 million people voted by mail.
Right.
And they had no problem with it.
Jack up the requirements. Right. Yeah. Jack up the requirements for absentee balloting. Right. Close off more early voting. Close off voter drop or ballot drop boxes. Right. And I go back to this food and water thing. Guys, we did that in Georgia in the special.
That's right.
Nate Nesbitt from LP helped run a program down there where we had people getting food and water because they're in a line for 8 or 9 or 10 hours. You know what?
Which is ridiculous.
Fucking arrest me. We're going to do it again. Okay? Georgia, we're going to do it again. We're going to give people water.
Right on.
If you're assholes, we're going to give people water. Just take us to court. You know?
And all this is about the big lie. It's all about the big lie.
Rick.
It comes down to the lie. It's just say, oh, well, people don't have faith in the election. They only have no faith in the election because you spread the lies. And so we're allowing the big lie to continue. Mm-hmm. Now it's translating the law. As one of the people in that video said, we're translating the big lie into unneeded and pernicious legislation. And it's happening, I think, 254 laws been proposed across the country. It's outrageous. Crazy. And damn right, it's coordinated. And it's completely coordinated. They all look alike, based on the basic states. And so, we had a call with some of our supporters last week, and I think Rick, you're on it. And one of the supporters like, what are you guys doing at Lincoln Project in this off cycle year? And I'm like, off cycle year? This is not an off cycle. Just because it's not an election this year, are you paying attention? This is not an off cycle year. The Republicans are trying to get rid of your voting rights. The Republicans get it. Our opponents get it, that this is not an off cycle year. This is the year to restrict voter laws, get them in place. I don't know if you guys saw one of the laws, I think it's Iowa's law. And in the Iowa bill, they made it that if you miss a single general election, you're removed from voter registration rolls. Think about that. You miss one election and you have to re-register to vote. Again, and how many people don't even think about that? It's just crazy. This is such a pernicious effort. Yeah, it's insane. And they're going to get away with it unless, the good folk, Mark Elias, Democracy Docket's out there, great advocate for voting rights. We'll back them up. We have partners out there, and the great thing I love about this organization is we'll partner with whoever's doing the right thing. If they'll have us, we'll partner with them. But we're going to have to fight. We're going to have to fight in the courts. We're going to have to fight, loudly in the streets, hearing our voices and every way we can. But this is a laser-focused effort by the Republican Party across the country and the legislators they control to destroy decades of progress in voting rights. And it is the fight of our time. Sure. I believe in my heart it is the fight of our time. Otherwise, we'll lose all of this.
I'm glad that you framed it that way, because on Sunday was the 56th anniversary of Bloody Sunday, where the civil rights movement in Selma, Alabama, really it was a marker. It's where America finally saw what the civil rights movement was all about. That is the Edmund Pettus Bridge. That is where state troopers attacked peaceful protesters fighting for voting rights. That's where a young John Lewis was injured and beaten and bloodied almost to death, but yet he endured. And we all know that John Lewis went on to be a Democratic congressman, served for many years, recently passed away. And there is a Voting Rights Act out there, the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, that is a civil rights bill that we need to support. And that is something that Lincoln Project is standing behind, as well as H.R. 1, the For the People Act. There are elements of that we believe in, that protects the rights to vote, not suppresses them. And it's important to understand the context of what we're doing. And Fred framed that so wonderfully. He brought up Iowa. And I want to give a shout out to our assistant. She assists both Rick and I, our wonderful executive assistant, Michelle Kinney, for bringing this video to my attention. Michelle went to college with these guys. They're called the Good Liars. I did not know them. Amazing. I guess I'm not cool like Michelle is and everyone else, but they are phenomenal. And they went out to Iowa. I know. Well, not anymore now, because now I'm aware of them, and we're letting our Lincoln Project audience find out about them too if they didn't know. They went out to Iowa and gave a special award to their Secretary of State after their most recent voting law passage. Take a look.
It's the Voter Protection Patriots here. We're very excited because today we are going to induct a new person into the Voter Suppression Hall of Fame.
That's right. Paul Pate, the Secretary of State here in Iowa, is one of our biggest helpers. Hi, how are you? Good. Is Secretary Pate available? We wanted to drop off an honorary plaque to his office if we could.
Sure. Yeah.
Great.
For all the work he's done with the voter ID laws and everything like that.
Yeah.
We inducted him into the Voter Suppression Hall of Fame.
Oh, very nice.
So
No, that's fair.
That's fair. Yeah.
Well, we don't suppress voters here, but thank you for dropping by.
Well, he's put a lot of effort into it, and we just appreciate that. We're the voter protection patriots.
Every voter has an ID. We're the only state that send that.
And thank you. We love that.
I don't need to shake your hand. And we don't suppress voters in Iowa.
We're not
period.
We're just protection. Voter protection.
I guess we should pose for one picture.
Yeah.
Good for them. I love it.
They do that all the time. They're the ones who want. You didn't see them last year. Last year in the campaign, they went to a Trump, like an indoor event for Trump, and they stood there going, "Boring, boring. Do something new. We've heard this before." It was hilarious. They are bold men.
Well, I'm thrilled that I know about them now, and
God bless Michelle for bringing them up.
She went to college with the tall one. So that's her buddy. So even better. Yeah. So yes, I mean, we're laughing at them, but it's also pretty serious. And, for Iowa, for the Secretary of State's office to say that they don't suppress voters, well, then why are you making it more difficult for people to vote there? Why are you closing polls an hour earlier? They're trying to say, oh, it's to consolidate and make sure there's uniformity across all 99 counties and things. Bullshit. It's to make it more difficult for people to vote, period. So I think Abe is going to start keeping a tally of these voter suppression Hall of Famers, and we may have a category of our own.
Indeed.
For that. Thank you. Thank you, the good liars, for the inspiration. Keep up the great work, you guys. I think we have a tweet for you, Fred, so let's get to that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
All right. LP, okay. Ask the breakdown from Karen Wagner. LP critics and some corporate media outlets claim LP's impact in the 2020 election was minimal. Come on. Can you give specifics to combat this narrative? Also, will you lend a hand to John Fetterman for PA Senate? Talk about a fresh face. Fred, you want to take that?
Parskill. I always start with Parskill. We got the president's campaign manager fired. So, I mean, we ran an ad. We talked about the money he was making. We talked about his what Ferrari he'd bought. Literally, Trump brought it up, and 2 weeks later, his campaign manager gone. So, if you can't see the impact of that, do we move voters? If the president of the United States, his campaign manager gets fired because somebody got in his head and throws his campaign in disarray, I'm sorry, that's impact. Is it typical? Is it the usual? Is it an ad buy? That ad ran in DC only. It was hyper targeted around the White House on Fox and Fox News. So I get frustrated when I hear this a lot from folks who judge how we did in the campaign, what we did. And a wonderful conversation with Tommy Tuberville down in Alabama. We figured out during the campaign that his damn charity was fake. That Tuberville is running a veterans foundation, and I spent a Saturday in Park City just going through every one of his 990, his IRS forms for 7 years. And discovered the whole thing was just a fraud, that less than 7% of the money he ever collected in 7 years of his foundation was used for purposes of helping veterans. And we put it out, and Alabama political reporters caught up on it, and it made a very difficult week for Tommy Tuberville. And so, is that an ad? Is that one of Rick's masterpieces? Well, no. But it was some really great guerrilla warfare that caused a candidate to have to rethink and answer some tough questions. And his opponent's campaign manager reached out to me and said, "Thanks." That was after the campaign. He goes, "Those kind of things." So, yes, you can judge us 300 ads, Rick's masterful team, the work we did in Philadelphia, the work we did with our friends at Veterans for Responsible Leadership, getting postcards pushed out. Again, these are immeasurably impactful efforts that I think look, did we win the election alone? No, don't be ridiculous. Of course not. Did we win World War II alone? No. Do I love the Soviets? No. But you know what? They were with us, and we won World War II. So I don't think we can sit here and say, oh, well, we won it by ourselves. But I believe we were part of a massive coalition of like-minded people who recognize that Donald Trump's a threat to our nation, and now Trumpism remains so. Look, just look no further than 1/6. We all washed it hard as violence became part of our political framework. Sorry.
I also want to say this in answer to the tweet, and Fred touched a couple of the things we've done. This is an analogy I've used before, but there are a lot of our critics who are not terribly smart. So I'm going to walk it through and go in a circular motion so you'll eventually reach the point. The Lincoln Project was an iceberg. The top of that iceberg is what you saw on social media and Twitter and in Donald Trump's head. The flashy viral video ads, the things that absolutely got in Donald Trump's brain and fucked him up all the time. Literally, Donald Trump tried to kill Mike Pence in part because the Lincoln Project split them in half with one ad. So those things at the top of the iceberg you see above the waterline, those are what a lot of our critics say, oh, well, that didn't move any Trump voters. Well, here's a dirty secret, folks. We weren't trying to move Trump voters. I don't care. I didn't care. The MAGA guy with the red hat going to the rally was never going to change his vote. And it was a he, by the way, almost entirely. However, we targeted below the waterline that you didn't see every day, didn't know what we were doing every day. We specifically made very careful strategic investments in media, in advocacy, in support of allied groups, in special places, in various ways. So, as Fred mentioned, in Philadelphia, we supported to the tune of several $1 million a group of Black pastors and advocates who would turn out African-American voters, because our research identified that the problem Hillary had in Pennsylvania against Donald Trump, we were never going to get all those Trump voters in the central part of Pennsylvania, but we could get African-American turnout back where we needed it, and we did. We've invested in places, and hold on to your hats here, folks, because places like Arizona, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Ohio. Oh, wait, the states we needed to win. We were playing a very small number game to focus on electoral college results in very selected races. Guys, if 20,000 people had switched the other way, you know what you'd be having right now? 700,000 dead people and Donald fucking Trump in the White House. So sorry, the dogs are going off. They hate Donald Trump too. So while we didn't win the election single-handedly, the things we did, and we'll be telling this story more thoroughly as we go forward, the things we did on and off the radar screen, above and below the waterline, were enormously important. We can show it. We're going to show it to America very clearly. And by the way, we've had critiques from a number of our friends on the left and the right who said, oh, you didn't buy as much TV. Well, guess what? You know why we didn't buy as much TV? Because it doesn't fucking work anymore. We did very selective buys. We did very careful digital advertising. We did a constant stream of narrative setting, earned media, backed up by social and paid, that altered the narrative of the campaign in selected states. So if you don't understand what we did, that's on you guys, not us. We'll make it more clear. We'll do a PowerPoint so that the people that think that they understand campaigns can try to push back against us again. But the fact of the matter is, I will go to my grave knowing what we did was vital. What we did was important, and what we did helped defeat Donald Trump. If you prefer the alternative of Donald Trump being back in the White House, or Mitch McConnell being Senate Majority Leader, or Kevin McCarthy, or whoever replaces him, whatever weirdo Yutz replaces him as the Speaker of the House, by all means, we'll wrap up the tent, we'll go home, screw it. But we're committed to this fight. We're committed to this republic. We're committed to American democracy. And for all the flaws and failings we've had as an organization, we still have a guy, big fat 300-pound motherfucker sitting in Palm Beach, pissed off every minute of the day at us. Because we helped beat him. He knows it. He knows it. And believe me, we hear things from Trump world, folks. We always have. They leak like a sieve. He knows it. You wake Donald Trump out of a sound sleep and he'll say, who beat him? And he'll say Lincoln Project in the first 2 minutes. Because he
can't quit us.
He knows it.
He can't quit us.
And he can't quit us. That guy is obsessed with us. So
he is.
And his people. It's great. I love all the little lap dogs. Yeah.
We're going to have
little lappy chihuahuas.
We're going to have a lot more to say about this stuff. We're going to say a lot more about this stuff in the near future. Once this report comes out on that situation with one of our co-founders, you are going to hear us talking a lot more about a lot of things. And we're still in this fight. And by the way, the stuff that's been hitting us, and I mentioned this earlier, an awful lot of this comes right out of Trump world. Okay, we get it. We know it. You guys aren't that subtle. You're not that fucking smart. Okay, we get it. Hi, Joe. We're going to come and visit you soon. We're going to push back on this stuff soon. And the fact is, we like our odds in the long term because we believe in something bigger than Donald Trump. We believe in America. Right. We believe in this republic. We believe in this democracy. And God damn, I need some fucking inspirational music now. I feel like all Pat.
Anyway. Well, you know, and that's where, you know, I came in late. I came in August. I was one of the last, you know, big ads, and I didn't know what I would expect from a political organization. This is my first major campaign, and what I did find, shockingly, was a bunch of idealistic people. Not all of them Republicans. It's easy to forget that most of our staff and team we're not actually, they're, you know, veterans of Democratic campaigns. Half our political team, 3/4 of our political team is all Democrats. So was a lot of our press secretaries. They came into this because they saw the vision of an ability to an actual pro-democracy organization, which is fighting authoritarianism. And we knew it, as Stuart Stevens likes to say a lot. He goes, you know, we went around the country picking fights with very powerful and very rotten people. And there's going to be, there's a price you pay for that. There's going to be blowback. There's going to be the wonderful DMs I get on Twitter. It is part and parcel with what we're doing, because what we're doing matters. You know, I've been to war and nobody's shooting at me. At least not so far, thank goodness. Luckily I could shoot back, but you know, it is what it is. And if you're doing something that matters, if you're in a fight that matters, and you're on a team of incredible people like we have surrounding us, it's the right thing to do. So I don't know. I'm thrilled to be on this pirate ship. It's a little bit more luxurious than it used to be, or I should say luxurious. It's less radical, less crazy. You know, we roll some of the guns back and clean them up a bit. But you know, it is a very powerful tool in the toolbox. I believe, and we believe, that the Lincoln Project is a very powerful tool in the pro-democracy and anti-authoritarianism movement. And if we didn't believe that, you're right. If this was about money, it's funny when people talk about this being about money. Really, I mean. I installed cameras. I mean, let's be honest, right?
Yeah, but we could have chosen to do a lot of different things.
You know, I mean, seriously, that
would have been a lot easier.
I had to go to the range and practice. Yeah, you know, there's really easier ways to make money that doesn't involve my family being scared for my personal safety, or you know, or the horrible things I see written about me. All of us, everyone, every single person associated with this. And this recent thing that I don't want to talk about it, but you know, the thing, you know, believe me, it did, when I laugh, people say, "Oh, money!" Like, really? Because you know, I own my own PR firm. There's easier ways to make money than stepping into the fray. You know, as the old Teddy Roosevelt speech, and the man in the arena, right? When you step in that arena, you're going to get dinged, you're going to get dirty, you're going to get scuffed, you're going to get bruised, you're going to get bit. But if the fight's worth the fight, you stay in the fight.
That's right.
And we're in this fight because the fight's worth it.
That's right. And taking down the most powerful man in the world brings along its enemies. And I am confident to say that, you know, we have built enough armor to withstand that. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that so many people who support the Lincoln Project and continue to help strengthen that armor for us. We do this for them. We are empowered. We are in a humbling and privileged position to be able to do this, to help rally what became a movement. And we will continue to do that. The mission continues. We are unwavering here at the Lincoln Project.
And can I say thank you? You said the chance as the executive. Can I add one thing before I get you going? As the executive director, I kind of took over executive director kind of quietly, you know, a month and a half ago. A lot of people didn't even know. I got to tell all the folks who are watching this and folks who are the supportive notes that we've gotten, that I've gotten personally, you know, be it a Twitter DM or reply on Twitter or a note or emails or text messages from friends. The emails, you know, I actually answer a number of our emails that get sent to our email account as part of my daily duties. I try to answer several emails. What's been shocking and wonderful is the number of people who have taken time out of their busy lives to just reach out and say, look, we believe in you. You know, you gave me inspiration. I know you're going through some stuff. We're here for you. And I just want to take an opportunity to sit on this show and say thank you to all of those, the supporters that have stuck with us, that have said, look, you know, people make mistakes or things happen. You know, it's how you look. Everybody knows if you make a mistake, it's not the mistake. It's how you recover. It's how you address it. Are you humble in your approach? And my charge, and thank God the board, including Rick here and everybody else, has given me the charge as executive director and say, we're going to approach this. We're going to be transparent. We're going to be humble. So I just wanted to take a second before we sign off to say thank you to all the supporters, our donors. My God, the donors have stuck with us. And I'm talking the grassroots donors. I mean,
right.
I get choked up. I mean, some of the emails I've gotten, Fred, I'm on Social Security, but I'm going to give you whatever I can. It's like, come on, $5. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Sending us $5 to keep this mission going. That's inspiring. And so we would be dead in the water if it wasn't for grassroots donors and the people who got named on this recent attack ad who have called us and said, oh, I'm glad I'm on it. I'll send you more. Honestly, donors, supporters, allies, contractors that called me and said, dude, we're with you. And so I'm just, for me, this experience of the month and a half I've been in this gig has been so difficult, I've invaded the country, twice. It's been challenging. I liked it so much I did it twice. Never the pirate ship. No, a couple of helicopters, but this is different. But at the same time, it's also been inspiring and amazing with the donors and the supporters and my peers and colleagues and allies in this fight. So I just want to take a second and just say, from the bottom of my heart as the executive director of this organization, thank you. Thank you to all of you. We'd be dead without you. And we'll keep on the fight because you're still in the fight.
Right on target.
We appreciate you, Fred, and I'm thrilled to join you in this effort as the chairman of the Transition Advisory Committee to get this pirate ship back on course. And we are, steady as she blows right now. We are heading in the right direction. And
got some duct tape. Got some duct tape on some more.
That's right. Hey, that's okay. And and the people who do that, they are making those sacrifices, and it is humbling to see that. We do read the messages, so we thank you for sending them to us.
We do.
Because we all share in this collective appreciation for how precious our democracy is and how fragile it can be. We came really close to losing it, and we could lose it again if we don't stay steadfast. So we have a lot of resolve, and we thank you guys for sticking with us as we fight this fight together for America. Cue the music.
Cue the music.
Right. On that
got a
note,
flag somewhere.
I know there's we got Lincoln behind us. I'm telling you, Fred, thank you so much. And our call to action tonight is for people to just continue to be active and engaged in our democracy. There's a resource called Phone to Action, where it helps you contact your representatives, where you can tell them how you feel, what you want to support, what you don't support. Tell them that, stop the voter suppression, whatever you feel. But Phone to Action is a really good resource where it helps you direct you to the right people and allows people to be engaged in our democracy. So we appreciate that, because democracy needs the citizens to be engaged, or this thing does not work. All right. On that note, we will say thank you. Be sure to check out our sister show tomorrow night. We're speaking with Lisa Senecal and Maya May. They have another great show up on the books for them tomorrow at 9 p.m. right here at LPTV. And we will be back on Thursday at our same time, same channel, 9 p.m. And follow us at LPTV for our schedule and clips and all things LPTV. And we want everyone to have a good night, and God bless America. See you guys Thursday.
Cool.
Texas has about 45,000 COVID deaths, so about 9% of the total in the country. I was thinking about this yesterday. If Beto O'Rourke wanted to run for governor in 2022, his slogan should be, Beto, I'm not going to kill you.
Everyone wants to be safe in times of uncertainty. But even if you follow every precaution, exposures remain a real risk to your health. Hydroxychloroquine once a day can help reduce that risk. If you're suffering from uncontrollable thoughts of democracide, along with a persistent sense that cannibalistic satanic pedophiles are after your phone records, you may have been exposed to ignis fatuus dolitis, or IFD, a once rare condition that has grown to concerning proportions in recent decades. People who contract IFD may find themselves calling friends and family members cucks in social settings and online, aggressive behavior toward medical masks, or in some cases donning buffalo horns while attacking federal office buildings. Living life can be more than telling people that Alexa is how they get you.
The deep state is coming for you.
And referring to people you just met online as your circle of friends. Break the imaginary chains of ignis fatuus dolitis with hydroxychloroquine. Some sufferers of IFD may have merged its effects with their personal identity to the degree that oral capsules of hydroxychloroquine are difficult pills to swallow. Side effects may include clear thinking, improved mood, and generosity of spirit. Some individuals experienced epiphanies, adherence to their own stated religious precepts, and in rare cases, the ability to do math. Hydroxychloroquine poses no known risks to women who are nursing, pregnant, or may become pregnant. Inform your doctor if you are involuntarily celibate, as the rationalizing effects of hydroxychloroquine may interfere with natural selection. Visit our booth at the Conservative Political Action Conference this weekend for more information. And remember, just because no one is after you doesn't mean you're alone.
Hey guys, hope you're doing well. Just watching my algorithms get crushed. I guess I did something to piss off the Instagram gods, so hopefully you're seeing this stuff anyway. We'll do what we can. Talk to you soon.